you if you want to share anything else.
Yeah, we can dive on in. Please turn on your cameras if you're comfortable. But you know this is being recorded as well, so please do what is comfortable for you. And this is going to be a pretty information intense presentation. So feel free to please ask questions either through the chat box or unmute yourself because this is a lot of information. And the last thing Deanna and I want to do is just continue to talk at you. So please ask questions and add anecdotes as we go along. We want this to be more of a discussion rather than just a traditional information presentation. So with that, you can go to the next slide, Deanna. So for today, I just wanted to start by revisiting what was hopefully achieved with part one, which was creating your foundation. That presentation really got at like the what of information and resources to help you be successful as an undergrad at CSU. And today we're going to be building off of that information and giving you the how you can utilize those resources and information along with new content, and then giving you a why leveraging those resources matters and what you can hopefully gain from utilizing what we're going to talk about today. You could go to the next one. And so today it's going to be broken up into two sections. The first part is really identifying and leveraging resources that you can utilize both academically and personally. And Deanna is going to be taking us through those pieces today. And then I'll be covering part two, really talking about making your mark, what that is, and then going through how you can make your mark by specifically talking about different connections you can make specifically with faculty and staff, getting connected with research and internships, and then getting connected with professional STEM organizations, and then also talking about what you can gain from those connections. So I'm going to hand it on off to Deanna to get us started with part one.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicolette. So we are going to go ahead and get started with the leveraging your resource section of the presentation. And this is going to look at both like academics and personal resources. And so I won't be surprised if a lot of the things, well, hopefully not everything, is going to sound repetitive, right? Like we're hoping that a lot of the things that we are going to be talking about in here are things that you've already gotten information about, and we can talk a little bit more about like what do these resources look like when you're actually like utilizing them. Maybe there might be some things that other folks have connections to that other folks might not, and they want to connect with other folks in this group just to hear about their experience. So we really invite you all to share your experience if you've been connecting with these resources. I think that's a big part of like sharing these resources in terms of academics and personal. And we're going to talk about how they can support you as a student. So moving right along. So let's go ahead and start with academic resources. Sorry, it's taking forever to change on my end. So to start off, I wanted to look at some academic resources and for students and like what that can look like. And so we're going to just talk through a few at a time. Is it going? Okay, yay, awesome. So we are going to go over tutoring. So some of the resources and to consider when thinking about tutoring are review sessions. And by review sessions, we mean your class review sessions. We want you to also be aware of like student policies. Actually, Nicola, do you know if these, oops, no, okay, then they go, I'm going to go back. I got thrown off there. Review sessions for your classes are really important. Consider that as like an additional resource where you get to connect with other peers in your class, with professors, TAs. Understanding student policies. Student policies are important to really get a feel for like what things can you really take advantage of when you are trying to get a hold of your academics. Is there a test bank online? And we'll talk about that here shortly. Really understanding the way in which specific professors approach teaching, especially when you are feeling a little nervous about a class. We're going to talk a little bit about peers, how to utilize your peers in the classroom so that you feel confident in connecting with one another. I think now more than ever with a virtual setting, I think that's very common, especially with virtual chats. and groups that I'm sure you all have already gotten those connections with. So that's going to be really important to think about. We're going to also talk about printing and where those resources are on campus, and what study spaces look like on campus now, especially with COVID. There are designated spaces, and there are some spaces that are closed, like the AEC, where those used to be hubs for study spaces for students. And so these are the things that we're going to go a little bit more in depth through during these slides. And please stop me if you want me to like repeat anything, or if I confused anyone. Nicola's going to help me monitor the chat. So let's go ahead and start with the first one, which was the tutoring and academic support. And so of course at the AEC, we are offering a few like academic support resources. And so the first one is going to be our tutoring resources, both in STEM and non-STEM. And we also have folks who are utilizing our tutor.com resource. If that does not sound familiar to you, just let us know. Tutor.com is like a outside entity that provides tutoring resources. And so we just purchase hours from them so that our students can also utilize that. And that's mainly for folks who are looking for a tutoring course that we don't offer, or students are looking a little bit more for like a drop-in, like I just want to use it when I have questions, or maybe when I'm stuck. I don't know if I can commit to a weekly tutoring session with the AEC. Maybe the Tilt building, the Tilt Tutoring Center also doesn't have what I'm looking for. So tutor.com is just going to be an additional resource. I know we don't have it listed here, but that's another thing that the AEC is providing. When we don't have a tutoring resource available at the AEC, we refer students to TILT, the Institute of Learning and Teaching. They offer group-based tutoring. Do they still offer in person right now, Nicola? Do you know?
For TIL, I believe they have some.
Okay, so they'll do some in person, and same with the AEC. Right now, we do some in-person tutoring and virtual tutoring. So please check in with your retention specialist about those pieces if you are looking. They offer tutoring for physics, chemistry, biology, and math courses. And then another resource is the Native American Cultural Center, also known as NAC. Their tutoring program is called Eagle Feather Tutoring, and it's somewhat similar to TILT. It mainly focuses on providing tutoring services for math and science, including physics, chemistry, and biology courses. And these are all through a virtual platform. And so it's going to be mainly over Zoom. Right now, the in-person tutoring is coming from TILT and some from the AEC. Other resources include the calculus and pre-calculus centers, the writing center for folks who need a little bit of support with essays, even like scholarship statements, CLERC, which is for chemistry, and it stands for Chemistry Learning Resource Center. And it's always like a great resource for folks who are doing chemistry classes. So yeah, that's like some of the tutoring that we wanted to mention. Are there any other tutoring resources that folks have taken advantage of that maybe weren't included in here? Or is anyone engaging with any tutoring outside of the AEC that they want to share a little bit about? Okay, no, that's okay. So I think I went ahead and jumped. Yep, I knew I was going to do this. I talked a little bit about some of these in the last slide, so I apologize. But so for folks who are thinking about doing other tutoring outside of the ones that I mentioned in the last slide, here are some of the resources that I mentioned before. So these three services are tutoring and academic support that is housed on Canvas and utilizes Zoom for the virtual platforms. With AV tutoring, this academic support focuses on engineering courses, and they are specific drop-in hours as well for general engineering help and for specific engineering majors. For CLERC, that is a self opt-in Canvas page, so this would be a great opportunity to get connected and acquainted with TAs, GAs, and professors. When you are interacting and use academic support services, you can you can be practicing and not just support. Oops, sorry. You can be practicing and not just looking to get answers, but it just really helps get used to some of that resource. And then let's see, there's also Pre-Calc Center. The Calc Center is completely online with services that the Pre-Calculus Center is online with some in-person support. The Writing Center, when you go to the Writing Center's page, you have an option to do like an appointment based online. So you just plug in your information. You can also submit a document to just get feedback. And they go through all the information of letting you know when they'll get back to you and how their appointments go in terms of just online services. So right now, I think a lot of these websites, and when you look up clerk online with, you can see some of the updates that they have for virtual support. And so if you're confused with any of the information that's just laid out here today, I would say just check it out online just to get a closer look at how they're providing services with the virtual setting. Do folks have any questions about the Writing Center or any of the 3 resources here listed on Canvas?
Valeria had a question of, do we know if the Writing Center is doing in-person appointments? I responded that it's most likely just online this semester, but the cover of the website isn't updated. It's still from fall 2020. Do you know, Deanna, if it's any in-person capacity right now?
Yeah, I think the last time I looked at it was sometime this semester, and I remember when I was working with a student, we were trying to set up an appointment. It looked like it was all online. So I would say just check to like set up an appointment when it walks you through it and see if there's a different update in there. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes if the stuff is updated from the fall. If it's not updated, I feel like sometimes it's just the same as they were doing in the fall, to be honest. And sometimes they have numbers to call, and those are a great resource. Or if they have a chat box on the website, those are always utilized. Please use that also to just ask quick questions on some of their services. Another resource is the Student Disability Center and case management. We always want our students who have a documented disability to connect with the Student Disability Center so that they can connect with them and have their resources in place for classes, that the professors are aware of their accommodations and things are in place ahead of time. And if you are unsure of maybe if you're not sure if you want to connect with the Student Disability Center, if you're not sure if you have a documented disability, they're just a great resource to get connected to talk through those things and like where to start, how to get connected with them, what resources do they provide if you're not sure if you have a documented disability. So it's just always great to have those things in place for academic support. Case management is a great resource, and we always refer students to case management, or sometimes students will go to case management on their own when they are needing support, just connecting with professors if there are major things going on in their life that they just need a little bit more support in. And so if there are personal things that are impacting students' ability to be in the classroom virtually and like turn in things, case management will reach out to professors and provide a little bit more communication. It just helps students feel like they're not trying to figure it all on their own. And if professors aren't getting back to you, case management does a really good job at stepping in, gathering a ton of resources for you and your situation, and just trying to work with you to ensure that you don't feel like there's nothing that's helping you while you're in a crisis. And so they're just a really great resource. You can do appointments with them virtually, and then you can also share with us or anyone else that you're working with that you want to work with case management. We can refer and send the information to case management, and they can follow up with you. Any questions about SDC or case management? Any questions in the chat, Nicola?
Nope, there's no questions right now.
Okay.
I had a question about the academic village tutoring. I was wondering if you have to live there to utilize it.
I don't think so. Nicolette, do you know if you have to live there?
No, I think you just need to be an engineering major to utilize the tutoring, but I'll look into it and circle back just to make sure. But as of now, you shouldn't
Mhm.
have to live there.
Yeah, that was my assumption as well. I think that's a great question. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump on in. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. We can just pause. We're gonna talk about review sessions. So there are a couple of review sessions, right? So there are things that are led by others and things that you can lead for yourself when doing review sessions. And so these can be either led by professors, TAs, GAs, upper classmates, tutors. And so there are just different approaches to these review sessions. And they're just a great way to familiarize yourself with material you have already gone over in preparation for big assignments, such as tests, but it is also helpful to ensure you're actually learning. So like, how many times have you all felt like, I'm just trying to get through the material, I just need to pass this exam, this paper, but like, how many times do you feel like you're actually engaging with the material where you're like feeling like you're capturing some learning in there? Like, where do folks usually feel like they land when they're going over material? Feel free to put in the chat box. So the hope that for a review session is that you're feeling like you're engaging with the material outside of the classroom, not just to memorize, but that you're feeling like you understand it, right? So sometimes people say like you really understand the material if you can like explain it to someone else, right? And so the hope is that in those sessions you are practicing things like that, so that you're not feeling like you're just going through material just for the sake of an exam, and that you're not feeling like you're capturing that more long term. So they can provide just really good, like different perspectives of how others are facilitating. And so just try something that you feel like works for you, which leads me to like the self-driven, right? So sometimes it comes by you requesting a review session from a tutor. And so you can do that with any tutor that you're working with. Sometimes they have a structure that they would like to go by. And so just checking in with them about like, what does that look like with the tutor that you're working with? That's going to be really important to understand. Creating study groups with peers. I think something that I've been hearing a lot from folks right now is that a lot of folks are connecting over chat from classes and trying to ensure that folks feel supported, that they have resources outside of the virtual classroom. And so how are you using that virtual platform now to create study groups is going to be important. There might be things already in place that folks are doing. And so if you are feeling like the things that your peers are doing in the group chat is helpful, please utilize that. Like, we want you to. And if you're feeling like it's not helpful, sometimes it's just like taking a step back and practicing some like self-driven studying. So whether it's like writing it out, for some folks, it's really just talking through some of the information with like a pair. So it really depends if you are feeling like the virtual setting is overwhelming. Let me see. When considering reaching out, I would say it's also good to check in with peers about like what are other folks doing. So checking in with folks that you know who might be alumni, some folks who have already taken the class, friends who maybe have had experience and like a good experience with the class. So typically AEC tutors are folks who have taken the class in the past and have gotten a B or above. And so sometimes it's good to check in with your tutors or folks who you know have taken the class to check in about what are things that worked for you with this material. Every material is going to be different based on like how you're going to study for that material. So it's just good to get an insight from other folks. Anything that I missed, Nicola, for this section for review sessions?
No, that was good.
Okay. We want you all to also be aware of student policies. So with student policies, we want you to draw your attention to two main segments from two policies. The first one is the honor pledge. So you may run into classes that may be known for cheating, which is weird to say, but it happens. And so some professors may require you to write out the honor pledge on each of your assignments. So it's really important to keep an eye out on your syllabi to see if that is a requirement for your class for specific assignments. Professors may just prefer you write it on your assignment regardless of the reputation. So it doesn't have to be a class where you're hearing about cheating, right? Or that it's a big deal when you first start, but some professors will just want you to do that. I know that there are a lot of things in place right now with virtual settings, so it's just really important to know what your professor is requiring for student policies. And if it's not required, this is something that you can just do for yourself as well with your own assignments. It doesn't do anything. It's just like doing an extra step that you are taking that initiative for your professor as well. The main point here is that the next segment that I want to focus on is from academic policy. So that next bullet here on the slide, the main point here is that professors are not allowed to assign or have due assignments that are worth 10% of your grade or higher during the week before finals. So this is something that actually was new to me. And so thank you, Nicola, for putting this in here, because this was something that was new to me. And so this is a big thing to look at ahead of time. And even if changes happen later on, keep an eye out on that grade like percent during the week before finals. And so some professors try to get away with this because students don't pay attention to it, but once it's brought to their attention, they will take action and changes. So just be mindful of this. And I know that Nicolette last semester shared an experience that she had personally with this when we were trying to talk to students about this, because I just couldn't believe that this was actually a thing. Nicolette, did you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, so I had a tutor that was a tutor for the AAC that was a year ahead of me. She was taking steel design, and her professor gave out a project that was due the week before finals week, and it was 11% of their final grade. A lot of the students brought it to his attention, and because they let him know, like, you're breaking this academic policy, he implemented in my class, which was the next class or cohort that was taking steel design. He made it 7% of our final grade, and it was due the same week before finals week. So professors will try to cut corners around this policy if students don't bring it to their attention. It only takes one student to make them have to abide by this policy. But if you don't, like, they'll break the policy. And it's really unfortunate that there is this academic unintegrity in the courses that they teach, but it happens. So pay attention. Definitely look at the percentages of the different things that I do the week before finals week, so you can get the most out of your courses and to have a validated experience.
Thank you, Nicolette. I know I'm trying to be mindful of time, so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep going, but please use the chat if you have any questions. The next piece that we want to talk about is the online test things. So one that just got recently updated is called Audacity. And so this platform is maintained by professionals, but it is student driven for uploading like study documents. So here you can access a lot of academic study resources such as past tests, practice tests, notes, flashcards, previous assignments, and more for the class that you are taking. This is one that I'm not too familiar with, but I've looked at other platforms similar to this. So check this out. And it's just really great to use specifically if you're stuck on a course where you can use this platform to gain different perspective from like a different professor maybe. So in order to get started with this platform, you can create an account using your CSU email. From there, you will want to search for the CSU as a university in the United States. That's that bottom left photo. And then from there, you can search for documents by subject, which is that bottom right photo. So Audacity has partnership with college universities that has study documents on this platform to support the stand for integrity and honor in academics, thus supporting the platform being safe for students to utilize for their academic journey. So it's not something where folks are putting like previous test score, test answers or anything, sorry. It's things that are getting approved so that folks are using this with integrity rather than for cheating purposes. Does that make sense for folks? The CUFERS, is that still an active one, Nicolette?
No, so if you're familiar with Kufers got integrated into Doxity, so any type of Kufers links that you use will just automatically filter to Docity, and Docity absorbed Kufers this past year, so that's why that shift is happening.
Yeah, has anyone had an experience using a platform like this or previously used CUFERS or has now used Docity? Raise your hand if this is like the first time you're hearing about these platforms. No? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yes, thank you for using the raised hand. Yes, okay, so check it out. If you have any questions about like, wait, I forgot to use this, just let us know. But it is a safe platform to use. Chugging right along. Is this working? Oh, oh, oh my God. All right, so another thing that we encourage folks to do to set up their success for academics is to get to know your professors before you take a class with them. And so you can always look at Write My Professor as a resource and look up the professor. Another platform or other platforms you can use are like LinkedIn. You can use, you can check their CV/resume, literally just checking on Google, also checking their CSU biography and like the department's page. So those are always like just great resources to be familiar with how students are perceiving the class, how they teach, assignments, difficulty, engagement. And so that's always something that we want folks to know ahead of time. And so many students that we talk to sometimes are sharing with us like, oh, I wish I would have looked up Rate My Professor because now I see that they had really awesome comments and I didn't get to take that class. And now I'm looking at this professor that I'm taking and all these comments and things that I wish I would have seen before I would have like not taken this class, right? And so you will see keywords pop up next to their names like you see here. And those are the big things that stand out based on the comments for students. And so we invite you all to also utilize this when you are sharing your experience with specific professors, whether they are good or bad. It's just helpful for other students who are looking for that similar support. So yeah, take time to do that well before registration. So start doing that now if you know what classes you're thinking of taking next semester and you know which professors are available for that. And then just keep moving along to be mindful of time. So when thinking about utilizing your peers as a resource, we really want you to like engage with like different undergrad experiences. And so when we think about utilizing peers, we think about like communities. And so thinking about the AAC community for your fellow peers, there might be folks who are taking very similar classes. And so we try to find ways of connecting you all so that you can connect with one another, connecting with tutors, upperclassmates, really getting a feel for the folks in your department through organizations, through events with the department. Those are just some ways that folks are connecting with upperclassmates, right? Graduate students, this might feel like how do I connect with graduate students? Sometimes it's just a matter of like asking someone, asking a professor, asking a TA, asking a friend, if folks have any connections to current graduate students. And this is always just great to get a feel for like, how was their undergrad experience, especially with a specific classroom, specific study habits. That's always a great thing to do. Any alumni, we always try to bring alumni back into the AEC for events, for panels, for connections specifically like this. And so with connecting with peers through all these different methods, some things that can come out of that are just really getting a feel for like, what are some professor recommendations that they have? how to like set up study groups, how to get study material organized and like how to engage in that, and then how to get involved with additional opportunities such as research and internships, and then just get you connected with other like resources and recommendations, and just get you connected to other folks. All right, so I want to talk about free printing. So free printing is like a big deal. I know it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal because it's part of like the tuition that students are putting in, and it's going into your department specifically. And so it's really important to know where your free printing locations are on campus. You'll most likely have more than one location. And so please always check in with your academic advisors and professors. Sometimes your department will have it listed online. And you just have to look for that. Other resources like the AEC when we are open, right, is like an additional resource. SDPS offices like El Centro, the Native American Cultural Center, so those offices in the LSC when they're open. Also the Adult Learner Veteran Services Office. And so these are always just great resources. And we say this because if you are more of like a visual person where you need things like a hard copy rather than being on the computer all day, we really want you to take advantage of printing your notes or printing things from your textbook or printing slides from your class so that you have access of different ways of engaging with the material and learning. And so please take advantage of this because you have free printing. So make sure you're not paying for it. Study spaces on campus. So these are some of the study spaces on campus that are listed for the fall of 2020 based on kind of how folks wanted to space out different buildings due to COVID-19. There is a link that I want Nicolette to share if she has it up for an updated map also of study spaces on campus for the spring of 2021. And so some of those places are already listed here, but that map includes a little bit more. And also just anything off campus that you can find. Some folks really want to come to campus and study, even if they don't have any classes in person, because it helps with accountability. It helps with having like a good setup, an environment where you feel like you can concentrate and not be distracted at home, or if you feel like your home setting is not the most, it's not the best right now for like getting just in the game of studying. So those are some resources that we wanted to mention. Nicolette, how are you feeling with like time and going into like personal support and going in your section?
I'll have enough time.
Okay, any questions coming in on the chat?
No, I posted the 2 links, and then Alex shared researching your professors could also provide internship opportunities you may not have had without the research going into office hours. So that's a really good point.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into personal resources. And we really wanted to talk about this as well, because a lot of the stuff we talk about, like we want you all to think about what are personal things that you need. And so we started to reflect about 2 things. We reflect about like where I'm at and like where do I want to go, and thinking about personal needs. So like, where are you right now? Where are you trying to get to? What are those resources? So reflecting and identifying on these 2 things, structure how you can go about navigating different resources on a personal level. So for the question where you are at and where do you want to be at can include many things. And so this can include the research that you want to do, the internships that you want to get a hold of, the type of participation that you want to become a part of. You might be hearing about something that's going on that you want to engage in, and even personal needs. So like, what are things that right now are impacting like how you're engaging as a student? Is it things with like mental health? Are you seeing things online about the Csu Health Network that you've been wanting to engage in, but you haven't taken those steps? So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things here. Are there other things that come to mind that folks want to share in the chat of like reflecting on like where you would like to be outside of the ones listed here: research, internship, volunteer, study abroad? Anything in the chat?
No, nothing in the chat.
Okay, no worries. So some of the things we're going to talk about first is just like building your network and making connections. This is a big personal like resource that we want you all to like really consider, because it's also not just about your academic experience, but your personal experience here, and that includes some of these things. And so the student diversity programs and services on campus obviously are focused on identity support. All of these are virtual for the semester, but this is a big piece that for a lot of folks is like a big part of their experience. The SLICE office is the office on campus with involvement and engagement and like volunteering. And so this is where students will typically see events like the involvement fair. What are the things from the SLICE office? Oh my God, I can't remember. But this is where
Like
the student
fall cleanup.
cleanup. Yes, that's like a big volunteer experience with CSU. Yes, they do a ton of stuff. This is also where all the student organizations are housed. So when students are looking for student organizations, the SLICE office is where folks will find that RAM link to look up those student organizations to see which ones are active. The Education Abroad office is something to consider in case you are planning for something in the future. And they'll have updates on everything that's happening now with COVID-19, if that's something that you're exploring for the future. And so other organizations like United in STEM, maybe major specific or non-STEM organizations will be housed in different areas based on like where they are categorized. Some of these are categorized within your department. So it's just I would say the best thing to do is just keep an eye out on things with like newsletters, things that are getting sent. I know it can be overwhelming, but something might pop up that you might be interested in. And so I would say just take that little step of just looking into it, and then take that next step when you're ready to engage in it in the way that you feel most comfortable. Other things like AAC events will always have different opportunities for folks to engage academically, personally, socially, volunteer-wise, all those things. And so just keep an eye out on that. So what you can gain from all these different experiences are just access to professionals within your field. I think that's a big thing we want you to always consider is like, how are you moving forward and moving more towards your goals? Access to important information. So that can include graduate school, maybe career preparation, maybe getting connected to research, getting an internship. Sometimes one of these offices like SDPS might be hiring and you can get a job there. So it's just really building some like connections to potentially lead to other opportunities. So that's always just something to consider as well. And in terms of meeting personal needs, we want you all to have these resources, the CSU Health Network, Tell Someone, Student Diversity Programs and Services, which we already talked about, community, just within organizations, you at CSU, which I'll talk about, just getting updates with COVID and university events calendar. And so with the CSU Health Network, there are a variety of resources that you can use. The first thing that I typically always thought of when I was a student was just like counseling, but there are a lot more things that are tied to the CSU Health Network. There are workshops, there are groups where students gather, if it's for like women of color who want to connect and talk a little bit more about like health and like personal, like mental health, and that being a big part of their identity, right? There's also individual counseling, multiracial counseling, and there are counselors that are available 24/7. And so there are a lot of things that the CSU Health Network provides. So please like look at that. Tell Someone is a resource for students to engage more in terms of getting support for sexual assault, for anyone who is feeling like they need something that might include like resources in that area. And that's a number that we want folks to know. The student diversity programs and services, that's always a reflective space for folks within identities, just community via organizations. You at CSU really tracks your experience within the university as a student, and we'll always go over resources like this, the COVID at colstate.edu, We'll always give updates in regards to university resources or things that are going on within COVID updates. And then the university events calendar. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Nicolette now to talk a little bit about making your mark. Thank you all for bearing with me and all that we went over.
Awesome. Thanks, Deanna. Before I dive on in, I just wanted to check in and see how our folks are doing, because that was about like 40 minutes of straight, like intense content. So, do we need like a 2 to like 4 minute break? Do we need a stretch? Do we just need a moment to take that all in before I go into the next thing, or do folks just want me to go straight in? Feel free to put a reaction if you would like a break, a little mini break. Okay, I got some breaks. Okay, cool. So be back here at 5:50. So you got 3 minutes. Forget that. Okay, cool. So for this section, I'm going to start by talking about what does making your mark mean and why does that matter? Then I'm going to go into specific areas where you can work on making your mark and how you can do that and what you can gain by making those connections. You can go, yep. Awesome. So, two things come to mind when you think about the question of what does making your mark mean. The first thing is it's taking the time to put in work and energy for holistic STEM success. Because as I've said before, you're more than just a student. You really want to focus on what does success look like, well-rounded for you. So, some things can include building your network, integrating yourself into predominant STEM groups, and gaining STEM experience. And it's not just limited to these three things for holistic STEM success. These are just some things to come to the forefront of my mind. Something else that comes to mind for what does making your mark mean is putting in some work and energy to make your presence in your specific college and across campus known and appreciated. So going the extra step to making going beyond just being a name on a roster for your professor, being more than just a statistic, you really want to take the time for folks to get to know you, understand like what is behind your name, because you're more than just a statistic, and you want those around you to understand that and know that and appreciate that about you. So some ways that we're going to talk about for working on this specific thing about making your mark, as well as the first point is talking about engagement with staff and faculty, classroom engagement, research and internship opportunities, and then professional organization involvement. And why this matters is because it really will support you and pave the way for you to get more tangible and finalized post graduation opportunities solidified for you. So we're going to start with faculty and staff connections, talk about how you can get connected with them and what you can gain from them. So the first one, I kind of did it for in-person and virtual, given like the circumstances that we're in. So for starting with the first items for both is office hours. Attend your office hours, both to get academic support, but also to just start to build that connection with your faculty and your professors. They love to talk about themselves. So this is just a perfect opportunity to have them easily talk about themselves, but also to help you and build those connections. For in person, sitting as close to the front of the class as possible is a big one. It may seem really simple, but professors and faculty really pay attention to your placement in the classroom, and to help build a connection with them, the placement of where you sit really matters, because the closer you sit to the front of the class really shows them that you're really wanting to engage and invest in what they're presenting to you for course content. And then for both of them, engaging in the course. So asking questions before, during, and after class really speaks to your instructors and your professors, as well as just simply attending the class. The professors really take note when you do attend class, when you don't attend class, and even if they don't have any type of attendance policy and you know that you're going to miss, just sending them a quick email and letting them know, like, hey, I won't be in the class. I want to let you know this. Is there anything I need to pay attention on than what I'm already going to do? That really resonates with them and helps build that connection with them. And then being proactive with academics. So doing what you need to do and then going a step further. So doing a little bit extra for your assignments, asking those in-depth critical questions, doing your work a little bit extra. Your faculty and professors really take note of that. And once you start to engage in that a little bit more, building that connection will be a lot stronger and a lot smoother for you. Let's see. I see a question from Richard. What kinds of questions do you recommend we ask to connect with our professors? So that really depends on what you're interested in getting from them because it's a two-way street with connections. You want to be able to gain something from them as well as they gain something from you. If you're interested in doing research with them, look at the different projects they've done in the past or that they're currently doing and ask them and email them questions regarding that so you can get to know them more, but also get some of your specific interests and questions asked or answered. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, awesome. And then the last thing is meeting outside of office hours because it really shows them that you want to build a connection with them outside of the course and that it's genuine. Again, professors and faculty love to talk about themselves, so use that to your advantage and hopefully build a genuine connection with them. Okay, cool. Now for staff, a big figure of like a staff that's in your life right now is your advisor. So some things that you can do to connect with them more and other staff members that come across your pathway is meeting any type of engagement requirements you have with them. Again, it may seem simple, but they pay attention to detail through and through. So just meeting those expectations of having to meet with them every semester will help you build that connection with them, as well as meeting outside of those requirements. So again, going a step further than what you're already asked to do. It shows them that you're genuine in making that connection and that you're invested in building that connection with them. And the last thing is maintaining some healthy email communication with them. And that really shows them that you're wanting to connect with them outside of just what they are there to do for their job. So something that will really help facilitate that is again scheduling those meetings with them and trying to be one of the first people that gets on the calendar. They'll start to notice and like catch on like you really want to be invested and connect with them if you're usually on one of those first people that's on their calendar to meet with them each semester, asking them intentional questions of things that you want support on. Some things can include asking them about upcoming events. They're really connected within their departments and colleges. So if you're wanting to look into something specific, they more times than not can help you with that and they'll be happy to help you with that. And then, if you're really looking at learning a little bit more about how to navigate specific goals that you have in place, ask them about some of their previous students' engagements and how they've supported them, supported their previous students with navigating through those goals. Because hopefully, the staff that you have in your connections or will have in your connections have had a lot of student engagement. So they're just waiting for you to tap into that and to support you with navigating what you want to focus on. Okay, and now what can you gain from these specific connections with faculty and staff? Two areas come to mind. The first one is career. So with faculty and staff that you connect with, they fall into kind of two categories of experts. You'll run into faculty and staff that are more on the established expert side, and then you'll um, connect with faculty and staff that are kind of on the emerging expert side, and they both can bring you benefits to engaging with either of them. So for established experts for career, they'll be really well versed on companies and trends that they traditionally operate with. So they'll be really in the know of how do companies historically perform versus emerging experts. They're going to be really well versed on what companies are currently really successful and which companies are more going towards like the innovative and new idea trends. Um, and then for networks, established experts will most likely have a developed network, which will help you with your recommendations. So if you ask faculty and staff that's more on the established experts side, when they do that, what they put in your recommendations and their name will carry more weight because those that they're connecting to will most likely know their name from within their network, and they might actually just know the person that they're sending the recommendation to. And then both for emerging and established experts for opportunities, they bring different sets of benefits as well. So established experts will be able to provide you with traditional opportunities and experiences for the career, while emerging experts will be able to provide you those new, emerging, and innovative opportunities and access to those pieces. For graduate school, it has a similar trend for both established experts and emerging experts. For established experts, they'll be more well versed on graduate programs that have historically performed well, while emerging experts will have more of the know of how graduate school programs are performing now and which ones you should really focus on. So if you provide emerging experts names of programs that you're interested in and schools that you're interested in, they'll be able to give you the most up-to-date information on how well those schools and programs are performing. For established experts, again, they'll have that developed network, so recommendations that they give will carry more weight. The people that they're sending recommendations to, they'll most likely know, they'll know of your recommender and the work that they do. And then again, for access to opportunities, established experts will be able to provide you more of those traditional opportunities, while emerging experts will be able to provide you more of those innovative and new opportunities.
Nicola, we had a question in the chat. Is it then better to build relationships with faculty and staff, or is it better to join more organizations and communities? Is one better than the other, considering internships or research opportunities?
I would say both are really necessary to your success because they bring you different benefits. So I would focus on both of them. And I'm going to get to talking about internships and research opportunities and what they can bring you to. But I would say they should both be a focus for you. Um, and I can't really say which one you should prioritize first. Oh, that's a hard one. If I had to choose, I would say focus on building relationships with faculty and staff because that takes a very long time and you'll want that time to build that relationship with them so they have more time to speak to to your success and how you function and operate and your recommendations. um yeah, I would say focus on that first, but they each bring you good sets of benefits and opportunities.
Yeah, thank you, Nicolette. I would also add, I think it's very similar to what you were sharing, is that like be intentional about these things, like about building connections with staff and faculty and about engaging with student organizations and community. Because I think the more time and like dedication you spend for things that you actually care about, rather than trying to just like get your toes and everything just so that it looks good on a resume, that at the end of that, like nothing's really gonna come out of that if you can't really speak to like how you felt like you engaged with the community or that the community felt like you engaged with them. And similar to professors slash faculty, like when you connect with folks to write you recommendation letters, but you didn't really spend too much time, like Nicolette was mentioning, but you rather were trying to get like connected with everyone, but not everyone can really speak to your strengths, right? Like those are the things that you want to be intentional about. So I would say just be intentional about the two things that Nicolette is talking about here.
Awesome. Thanks, Deanna. Okay. And Alex touched on this earlier, so thank you, Alex. Something else that you could gain from connecting with faculty and staff is that personal relationship that will hopefully turn into a mentorship experience and relationship for you. And within that relationship, they can provide you different things. So the first one is academic challenges. They can give you insight to different professors and the way they teach, and they could kind of give you advice on if a professor that you ask them about, if they're going to be really great at the course or if it's going to be really challenging. Faculty and staff can also give you academic insight, so they can give you some feedback of the current schedule that you have now or schedules to come, of if it's going to be a little bit overwhelming and why, or if it's going to be a little less work or workload, and they can explain a little bit why. These relationships also can help you with supporting with any transitions that you experience, such as transitioning for post graduation opportunities, as well as what you're currently experiencing as an undergrad. So you may be taking on different research experience, internship, co op. They'll be able to provide you that guidance of that transition. And then lastly, they'll be able to provide you some life guidance, because they've been through this just as you are going through it. And so they'll be able to provide you some support and guidance through the different experiences that you go through your life here at CSU. Okay, now we're going to dive into research and internships and how to get connected to them and what you can gain from them. But feel free to keep putting questions in the chat box if you have any. Okay, so how to get connected with research. So for office hours in person, definitely research your professor ahead of time that you're interested in doing research for, and then look up when their office hours are for the courses that they're teaching for the semester, and see if you can try to go to them either at the tail beginning of them or the tail end of them. That way you can still have some in-person interaction with them, but not take away from why the actual office hours are happening. And you can use that time to let them know, like, hey, I was researching you, your research is really awesome. Do you have capacity to take on another student for your research project or your lab? um, Something else is to attend professional lectures. So at CSU, they typically invite guest researchers or guest professionals to talk about different research projects that they're working on, or different research that they've done in the past. And that'll be a great way to get connected to research that's happening currently, and hopefully to gain a research experience with them. And different avenues that this is advertised through is the Laureate Student Center, and then within your specific colleges and departments. For virtually, definitely research your professors no matter what. Look at their CSU bios, look at their LinkedIn, and definitely look at their CV and resume. And for their CV and resume, specifically look at the current and past research projects that they've done, and also look at the current and past graduate students that they've had, and specifically look at the amount that they've had. So you can kind of get an idea of, are they close to the capacity that they normally have, and that'll kind of give you an idea if they'll be able to take you on for that specific research lab or project. And also look at those students so you can reach out to them and ask them, like, hey, how did you get connected with this lab? What is interesting about the research that you've done when you were working for this professor? They're great access to information about what you're trying to get at for research. And then always email the professors that you're interested in doing research for and calling them. You have to be really persistent and relentless, because if they're doing research, they're going to be really focused on that research, and they kind of tunnel vision it on accident. So, more times than not, they will accidentally dismiss any outreach that you do to them. So, you have to continuously bug them, poke at them, because it's not bugging or poking for them, it's just helping them become aware, like, hey, this student is interested in doing research with me. I should follow up with them at some point.
I had a question about that too.
Hmm.
Um, because I know we don't get like much opportunities to do research at a very like early on in our semester. So like, how do we also qualify for that? Like, even though like we're interested, sometimes they have like requirements and all that. So how do you think like we can get like even though we may not have much experience, like how could we still show that we
Mhm.
want to still work with them?
hmm I would say any type of like opportunities that you don't meet the criteria for, still reach out and ask if you can apply and be a part of it. And if you can't do it at like the same capacity that the advertisement is showing you, ask them if you could just volunteer, shadow something. So they can understand like you're really committed, you're really interested in it, and even if you can't bring to the table what they're asking for, you still want to contribute and grow so you can get to that level of what they're asking for. And usually they're pretty receptive of that, and they'll let you volunteer and shadow until you get to where they're hoping that you're going to be at to support them and what they're looking for. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, more ways of getting connected with research. So for in person, definitely look at class announcements. Professors and instructors love to give out opportunities through your classes, so just pay attention to that. You can also set up an appointment with your diversity inclusion staff member within your offices. Each of them hopefully should have one of these members within your college. For example, that person for engineering is Dr. Melissa Burt. She works on diversity inclusion. And these people really focus on wanting to support students. So just reach out to them, ask to set up some time with them, 15 to 30 minutes, and let them know what you're interested in and what you're seeking. So just let them know you're seeking research opportunities within the college or external to CSU, and they'll be more than happy to get you going on the right path for that. Also, attend research symposiums. These are great opportunities to see what research is being done, what projects are being done, and to hopefully um, get a part of those opportunities and projects. You can ask them not only about the specific project, but you can ask them, like, hey, can I be a part of the project that you're doing? How did you get connected to it? What are some advice that you can give me to getting connected to a project like this? Two research symposiums that CSU has, it's actually coming up this next month in March, is Murals and Circ. So I strongly encourage you to attend those if you don't participate in them because they're great ways to network and get connected with research projects. Then the last thing for in person is to attend different student and professional organizations. Lots of these meetings have a lot of current researchers and professionals ready and just waiting to get connected with you all. So definitely attend them and just talk to them because they're ready and excited to get connected with you. And then for virtual ways to get connected, again, announcements for your class, look on Canvas or any other online platform that your classes are being run through, and look at the different opportunities that they post, if they post any. Email the diversity inclusion staff members within your department in college and just ask, like, hey, I'm interested in getting involved with research. Can you lend me a hand with getting started? Opt into specific newsletters and listservs provided by your department in college because they more times than not will have a lot of research opportunities in those. And then something that I encourage you all to get connected to is the National Science Foundation. This is a federal entity that houses different research opportunities and projects that you can become a part of throughout any point in time that you're in college. And one program that you should really focus on is research experiences for undergraduates, or REUs. REUs are very popular for those that would like to get research experience as an undergraduate, and a lot of the times, those experiences are in the summer, and they usually help those that are accepted into the programs to relocate. So they really help you financially be able to partake in this experience. And a lot of the REUs are housed across multiple college campuses, even at CSU. So really look into CSU and other universities to see if they have this experience because they're really popular. And then another one is just to ask your support network. You'll be amazed to see how much connections are within your support network. And even if the person that you ask can't directly help you, more times than not, they'll know somebody to hand you off to help you with answering these questions of getting support and connected with research. Okay, and now with internships. So for in-person, to get connected with, again, the professors that has career experience that you're interested in seeking and being part of, and research the office hours so you can just pop in, ask them different questions about internship opportunities that they have or career experience that they have listed in their bio or their resume. Definitely attend networking events. I do want to recognize that that's difficult with this virtual setting. So as it becomes more integrated back in person, definitely attend those professional lectures, the CSE career fair, and then different specific college and department career fairs and networking events. Because again, they have a ton of people there just waiting to interface and connect with you and become a part of your network. And then connect with the CSU Career Center. They do this for their job and they're really excited to do it. They want to get you connected with internships. They want you to get connected with full-time positions later down the line. So connect with them because they're there to support you and they're happy to support you. Again, research professors and professionals. Look for their bios, look for their LinkedIn, look for their CV and resume, look through their current and past work experience, and email them and ask them intentional questions about those current experiences or past experiences, and they'll be happy to connect you with that. And then again, reach out to them, email them, call them. You have to be persistent and relentless with doing this. Again, they unintentionally tunnel vision at times and they might not see your outreach.
Nicola, can I add something to this part?
Mhm.
I think another big resource for internships that Nicolette was mentioning with like the Career Center is that their handshake platform where folks can find job postings for on campus or off campus also houses internship opportunities. So if you're not familiar with Handshake, that platform is found on the Career Center webpage, and I can drop it here in a little bit, but that's just like a great way to also browse for national internships, local internships, or CSU internships. So it's always a great resource to look at.
Thanks, Deanna. Okay, and then I'm just going to pick out the unique items off the site because a lot of it overlaps with getting connected with research. So for in-person, the main thing that I want y'all to focus on is once your life and journey at CUC becomes more in person and you're walking around campus, look at the different bulletin boards, look at the TVs, and look at the flyers everywhere because more times than not, they'll have a lot of internship opportunities listed on there and folks on campus really take the time to update those bulletin boards and TVs with those opportunities. So just glance up once in a while, take a few minutes to look at bulletin boards and see what they have to offer there. And then for virtual ways to get connected, Deanna was talking about it, so thank you for that segue. Utilize professional platforms such as LinkedIn and Handshake. Y'all probably have heard it tons of times to get a good LinkedIn set up, get familiarized with it. Same with Handshake, but honestly, you really want to because employers really use LinkedIn, CSU, and professionals really use Handshake. So just become really familiar with these two platforms, and you'll be pretty set with easily navigating and finding different internship opportunities and career opportunities as you need. And then what can you gain from having and gaining these research experiences and opportunities as well as research? The first one is building and growing your professional network intentionally, as well as just growing it in general. And then you'll also gain hands-on experience. So taking your experience and applying it that you have in the classroom and taking it a step further and getting that practice and hands-on application. You also get skill development, new skills as well as current skills, and develop that a bit more, as well as professional development. And then my favorite is just having some time and opportunity to self-discover what you're passionate about with the what you want to go into. You'll learn what you don't like about your major and your profession, what you do like, and then those hidden passions that you've yet to discover. And then we're going to do the same thing with professional STEM organizations, how to get connected with them and what can you gain. So for both in-person and virtual, I strongly encourage y'all to check out Ramlink. It's the CSU's hub to house all of the organizations that CSU has, and they're called Registered Student Organizations, or RSOs, and you can see what professional organizations are here on campus. And if you can't find a professional organization that you're really looking for, you can ask folks. So you can ask professors, you can ask advisors, you can ask staff, and those within your support systems, and they can be able to help you find specific professional organizations that you're looking for. They can also help you identify what professional organizations you should be getting connected to for your major. And once you get the name of those organizations that is encouraged for you to get connected to, you can look them up on Ramlink, or you can just look them up in general to see if there is a chapter or organization at CSU within the city or the state, and then what fees does it cost to get connected. And more times than not, the membership for undergraduate students is usually free or really reduced. So definitely ask about that membership piece. And then again, the newsletters and just personal outreach will help you come across what professional STEM organizations are out there for you. And then what you can gain by getting involved with this is you will get access to latest research and career trends. Some of this information is not open to the public, and they keep it housed within professional STEM organizations, so you'll have access to this information. You'll have access also to professional academic development opportunities, so conferences, workshops, webinars, certificate trainings. You'll have access to all of those pieces through getting involved with a professional STEM organization, and it's usually at reduced costs, if not free as well. And then again, it'll help you develop your network intentionally and just to grow it overall as well. And then here are some examples. They are all from an engineering perspective because that's my background, so I do apologize. But the first one is American Society of Civil Engineers, ASCE. This is a professional organization that spans across the United States, I think internationally, and they also have a chapter at CSU. And then a specific CSU professional organization for engineering is American Society of Mechanical Engineers at CSU. So some of those professional organizations will look like that. And then some overarching organizations that include multiple engineering disciplines or other majors is American Society for Engineering Education and then American Waterworks Association. So some of the verbiage will look like this for other professional STEM organizations for your specific field of study. And I believe that is the last slide for that whole chunk. So is there any questions before we go through a check-in?
Nicolette, when you were mentioning earlier to connect with diversity and inclusion staff in the department, do you know if there's a place that has that listed, or should each department have that in their webpage?
They might be listed under staff for each of the colleges or departments' website. But that's a good question. I never thought of that. I'll have to circle back to that.
Okay, no worries, just wondering. Any other questions for Nicolette?
Okay, cool. We're going to chug along because I know we only have 7 more minutes. So we did a lot of talking at you. So I apologize because that might be a lot. But we wanted to check in to kind of see how you're feeling having just been presented all that information, and we want to walk through 2 questions. So starting with the first one, please use the chat box or say it out loud, but we want to try to hear from everybody. So what did you hear, see that is familiar to you?
I hope one of them is the AAC tutoring. Yes, Someone mentioned tutoring resources. Thank you, Joel, for sharing. Tutoring resources, yes. Yes, all the tutoring.
That's exciting.
Mhm. Checking in with professors. Awesome. Connecting with staff and faculty. Okay.
Awesome. Keep them coming in, but again, we're almost out of time, so I want to say the next question. So what is one thing that you'll be trying out / using that is new to you? And feel free to put it in the chat or mute yourself too. Murals, awesome.
Murals is going to be virtual this semester, I believe, but it's really cool to see like peers presenting their research that they're doing in like capstone classes. So
Mhm.
it is something that folks will get an opportunity to do in that department. It's just the way of getting involved to showcase that and getting practice in doing that, which is awesome. So yes, I would say murals and circles really great.
Yes. And I love seeing all the talking to professors more. Yes. That's so exciting.
Nicola, did you have any professors write you recommendation letters for grad school?
Yes, I did. I sure did. One professor I knew since freshman year, and he was able to talk to my involvement since I was able to keep up to date with what I was involved in, as well as my work ethic. And then I had another professor that I took graduate classes with, and she was able to talk to my ability of being being able to perform academically well in graduate classes. And then a professor that I met my last year was, I also took a grad class with him, and he was the department head of the civil engineering department. And he wrote me a letter of rec. And just by him writing me a letter of rec, just carried a lot of weight, like I was saying, because he's been in academia for a long time. He worked in his profession for about 20 years, and he was able to speak to my ability to perform well in the concentration that I'm gonna go to graduate school for civil engineering. So get connected to your professors. Okay, then we could, yes. So we wanted to say thank you. Definitely thank you for hanging in there for this entire time. And I want to leave you with ask, always seek knowledge. So continue to be curious, continue to be hungry for different knowledge and information. It is one of your strengths for sure. And don't be afraid to ask. There's no stupid questions, there's no wrong questions. Continue to reach out to professors, reach out to me and Deanna and your STEM peer mentors, and we'll be happy to support you. And then use the information that's beneficial to you. For example, we went through a lot of information today, and not all of it is applicable to you. I know that that's okay. So just continue to pick out the information that is useful for you for your success. And then we got some reminders. So drop-in hours are this week, and there are the hours for all of the wonderful peer mentors this week. And then the discussion board for the specific seminar is due on Friday at 11:59 p.m. And then the pre-activity for the session today was watching the video, which was Academic Skills Part 1. If you weren't able to watch it before this time, no problem at all. Just watch it before you do the discussion board if possible. It's just giving you some more information that kind of complements what we talked about today. And then next week is STEM family groups, as well as AEC event. It's FAFSA, CASFA, CSU, SA workshop. Oh, JK, that's this week. That's on Wednesday. And I'll drop the registration link for that. So please come to that if you're able to and need that support. And those are all the reminders for this week. And we just wanted to end with another like check-in, but not for the seminar, but just seeing like where you're at with the seminar. So how is the seminar sessions going for you? The STEM family groups going for you? And then there's one other thing. And just like engaging with the content overall. We wanted to check in about that to see if you have any questions, if you're having trouble with anything.